Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am excited to have with me Gabrielle Pimstone, and let me talk to you or tell you about her background. She is an energy coach who is dedicated to assisting those on a cusp of change, but in need of a little nudge. She shares her journey of resilience and reinvention, highlighting how her love of psychology and spirituality finally converged to reignite her passion and purpose and provide profound healing. She offers inspiration and practical tips to individuals to break free from stagnation and fear. And her central message is that it's never too late to make meaningful life changes. So today we are going to talk about a subject that those of you that watch or listen to me often know I like to talk about the importance of purpose. So rediscovering purpose, how to stay on the right path. Please join me in welcoming Gabrielle Pimstone.
Thank you
Nice to
so
have
much.
you.
It's wonderful to be here, Vicki. Thanks so much for hosting me, and hi to everyone from Sydney, Australia.
Oh, so she gave away our answer to our first question, y'all. All right. So you all now know that she is from down under, and that's that lovely accent that we hear. How long have you lived in Sydney? All your life?
Actually, I haven't, and interestingly, a lot of Americans can't pick up my accent because it's not Australian.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to guess where I'm from originally. What is my accent?
So I think you're from South Africa.
Yes.
I worked with somebody who I always thought he was
Wow.
from Australia, and he corrected me to say, no, I am from Africa. So
I am impressed, Vicki. Yes, I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, the southern tip of
that's
Africa.
where he was from too.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
it's so close that you have to really listen, but it is definitely different.
It is definitely different. But I've lived I actually moved over here in 1994. I've been an Australian citizen since 1996. So I'm a naturalized Aussie, and I've kind of got two different identities happening running at the same time.
Is family still in Cape Town, or is everybody?
Some are. No, actually, I have, my mum is still in Cape Town, and I've got two brothers. One is in Cape Town and one is actually in Vancouver in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So we are all over the
flyer
world.
miles.
Something, exactly. So yeah,
Awesome.
I'm kind of, we've been living really far apart for a long time, but we make it work.
That's awesome. Yeah, the internet really has just opened up doors and really has made it lovely for families that aren't close.
Exactly.
Before the internet, I only went home to Pittsburgh twice a year, so my kids could know their cousins and their grandparents. And now they Zoom and they do FaceTime and all those things, and it's so wonderful.
Exactly.
So
and
wonderful.
Also, that's why I love podcasts so much, because it opens up the world to you.
I know.
So that's awesome. I
do. I love it. So let's just talk a little bit about your background. What What made you decide to leave that comfortable 27-year corporate career and say, I'm going to do something different? And I also, a side note is, how did people react to it? So to become an energy
Yeah.
coach, corporate energy coach, two very different.
Yes, yes. Well, I think that the word comfortable is a little bit of a misnomer, because I was
Yes.
comfortable for a long time, and then the last 5 years I was in deep discomfort.
Yeah.
And I tell you what made me, well, that had been bubbling and percolating for a long time. And in the last 5 years of my career, talking about purpose, my last few years were dedicated to helping organizations and leaders find and activate their purpose.
Mm.
So I knew it was important, but I just wasn't heeding my own advice. I found myself in 2020 in a really desperate situation. I'd taken on a senior leadership role in a bank. And within a week of taking the role, I knew I'd made a really bad mistake. And by like month 7 or 8, I had imploded. I wasn't sleeping. My thyroid had activated again.
Mm.
I was just cut off from the world. My confidence had taken a terrible, terrible dip. And I went for a walk on a Sunday morning, woke up feeling just nauseous in the pit of my stomach, went for a walk, and I listened to a podcast. And in the podcast, this woman, it was a very innocuous podcast for most people, but she was talking about her relationship to anxiety. And anxiety had been something that I'd lived with all my life, and that was now just amplified because of the job that I was in. And I realized in listening to that podcast, I'd been living in this invisible prison of the mind. It kept me
Yeah.
trapped. Yeah, just really trapped in serious discomfort, but not feeling comfortable or confident to take that first step to get off the starting blocks. I realized that there and then I needed to change my life. It wasn't just I want to change, I need to change. I need to find a way out of this corporate grind. I need to find an alternative, and I need to start living my place from my purpose, because I just lost my way. And so I actually resigned from the job the next day, but I didn't quite leave the corporate grind. I kind of contracted back for a number of years. And it was in that process that I found my purpose. Well, we found my purpose, which was I now call it is now fulfilling potential together.
Yeah.
So, really working with my clients. I don't just fulfill their potential, I'm learning through them. It's a kind of a symbiotic relationship. And so that's what got me out of the corporate grind. It was actually significant discomfort, but also a podcast that
Wow.
altered the course of everything.
And you said it was 2020?
It was in the pandemic, yeah. It really,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
yeah.
gee. Just
A
pile
triple
everything
whammy.
on. Oh,
Just pile
God.
everything on. Well, actually, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people that I know, myself included, it was a catalyst for a lot of change for people.
Absolutely.
We spent so
Absolutely.
much time on our own, didn't we? And for me, a lot of time in self-reflection. And
Yeah.
so what was interesting was I was hardly going into the office during the pandemic, but the thought of even just dialing into a Zoom call, Vicki, it filled me with such dread and trepidation. I knew something was wrong. And it was that Sunday that I worked out, I've got to make some real changes here. And I've got to
Mhm.
kind of go back onto the path of finding and really living my purpose.
That was kind of the way in 2018 when well, 20, probably 16, 17, when I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be 60. I think I want to retire and do something else,
Yes.
stay home or whatever it was. But I agree with you that it was no longer fun. And when I
Yeah.
just started that career, and that was 27 years before, I worked for the CIO of UPS, and he told me, when it's not fun, do something else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so those words always stayed with me in every job I took, and
Wow.
so it was no longer fun.
Wow.
The only thing that was keeping me there were the people that I worked with.
Mm.
And so I retired, spent 2 years having retirement, kind of typical retirement, travel, whatnot. And then I needed a purpose.
Yes.
So it wasn't fun for me just sitting around doing nothing. I
Yeah,
knew I needed
absolutely.
purpose. I knew I
Absolutely.
needed purpose. And so that's when I started to make changes. And so to
Wonderful.
me, that 2020, 2021 was really
Yes.
inspirational for me.
It sounds like you and I, similar things were happening at the same time. We just
Yeah.
didn't know each other.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, my purpose it's done so much for me, and really living it now has done so much for me. I mean, it's been my North Star, and I know that's an overused term, but
Right.
it really has determined where I spend my time and energy and how I want to share my gifts. And it's been a wonderful gift to me, and there's no going back. It's made me more resilient. You know, when you start out a new business venture at age 50, not an easy thing, but being driven by a sense of purpose has really allowed me to persevere during the ups and downs and during tough times.
So, I think that we need to educate the audience a little bit. So the next couple questions are hopefully to do so. Uh, First of all, why did you become so passionate about energy mastery? And how is it related to discovering or rediscovering purpose?
Yeah, well, let me answer the first question, which is why I have become so passionate about it. Well, I spent 27 years in psychology, organizational psychology, and
Mhm.
human transformation, really helping
Yeah.
people move through moments in their
Yeah.
lives and transitions. And I spent a couple of decades in therapy because of the work that I did, and I also became a little bit of a therapy junkie, loved it. Uh, but in 2020, when I was in this crisis, in this job, what I did was I initially tried to draw from, all the psychological tools and techniques that I had learnt and drawing from my wealth of self-insight. And what I found was that nothing was changing, and nothing was working anymore. And I realized that I'd spent a couple of decades really in with some amazing therapists, and I'd learned a great deal about myself.
Yeah.
But the dial hadn't shifted in my life. I was still trapped in the same cycle of anxiety. That I couldn't shift it. I knew where it came from. I understood my triggers. I knew all of the, on paper, I knew what was going on, but I couldn't step out of this cycle. And a few days after I resigned from the job and started, contracting back to corporate, I was thinking, what's my next step? What's my next
Yeah.
chapter? I need a different modality. My life's not changing. I want to fundamentally change my life, and in doing so, help my clients more effectively. And as I started thinking about it, those pesky Instagram cookies started working, and I got an advert came up in my Instagram feed, and this guy was talking. They were advertising some 3-day, like long weekend workshop about energy mastery, and it was really cheap. It was like $10 or something crazy. And I thought, what the heck? I've got nothing to lose. So I joined that workshop. And by the end of the 3 days, I'd signed up and that became my teacher. I studied with him for 18 months. And what was it that attracted me about it? Well, there's something about, talk therapy is really great. It's got its place. It has incredible value. It really does give you the gift of self-awareness and some tools and techniques to kind of respond in the moment. But when you work at an energetic level, when you take your limiting beliefs, take the stories you told yourself, take the traumas that you've experienced in your life, each of those have got an energetic inception point. Somewhere in your timeline, they germinated as a result of an event or an experience that you had. And often that happens in childhood. We spend a lot of time talking about, childhood
Yeah.
therapy. But when we're kids, we don't have the mental capacity to deal with trauma, to make sense of it. So the energy relating to that trauma gets left behind. It doesn't transmute, doesn't just go away, and it gets trapped and stuck in your body. And over time, as you go through more and more life experiences, the energy compounds, it grows, and eventually becomes a block that is invisible, but it really acts as a powerful handbrake in your life. And that is what I learned, that if you can release the energetic root, the energetic inception point of your limiting beliefs, of your traumas, of your emotional intensity, if you can get to the energetic inception point, you've got techniques to find it and release it. That is when change really happens quickly and more permanently. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because you're really helping speeding up change, and you're also making change a lot more enduring.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just being stuck mentally, but it starts to really impact your health.
It really does. It really does.
Have things that are wrong, and you don't know what they're wrong, and you go to doctors, and the doctors can't find anything wrong, but you aren't functioning right. And
absolutely. And in my case, what I suffered from for decades because of my anxiety were migraine headaches, and they were just trapped energy. And I'd often wake up in the morning with them because, when we sleep, we're working, we're healing. And my energy was just kind of trapped here in my forehead, in my third eye. I wasn't releasing it. And I would wake up with these terrible migraines. And I took 2 Neuromol most mornings. Or maybe not, maybe I'm exaggerating, but certainly, 2 Neuromol probably 2 days a week. I mean, I had serious headaches. When I started moving and releasing my energy, working and balancing my energy, those headaches went. I still travel with my Neuromol, my tablets in my bag, just in case. But what that was trapped energy manifesting as a physical symptom. And I was able to release it once I started, really moving and shifting my energy. So that's an example of how it really does manifest physically.
Yeah. So let's just talk about, what does an energy coach do for the individuals that you support? Who should come to you? Why should they come to you? And what difference will you make for them?
Well, you should come to me or go to an energy coach if you feel the clues, if you've got repetitive patterns in your life. You've got this invisible handbrake that's holding you back. You've got, an inability to make money. You've got a money block somewhere. You have blocks in relationships that prohibit you from getting really close to people or, holding on to relationships. You've got blocks that play out in different ways in your life. There's a pattern. So that's your clue, and you don't know what it is. You don't know how to work it out. You don't know how to solve it. Thinking through it doesn't help. It's kind of running the show. And what I do as an energy coach, now I was a regular coach. I was a leadership coach for 25 years, accredited leadership coach. And coaching in its generic sense, what it's designed to do is get people to step forward in their life, to move forward in their life. What you at a very high level, you'll know this, you look at where a person is at, where they want to be, and you help them close that gap. That's what coaching is about. Now, energy coaching is overlaying a modality onto that. And as an energy coach, I teach people how to do 5 kind of things, 5 skills at a high level. I teach them how to understand their energy. So what are the triggers? Becoming hyper conscious of when the energy dips, what elevates it, really being able to understand your energy, being able to protect your energy, because that's a really important one. We're bombarded with stimuli from the outside. A lot of it is toxic. A lot of it is unhelpful, unhealthy. So I teach people how to protect their energy. I actually teach people how to go in and clear energy blocks, deep energy blocks. I teach people how to maintain a high vibration because our energy fluctuates, it dips. So how do you stop it from spiraling down? Because once your energy is really down, it's difficult to come up. We all know that. And then also, how do you optimize your energy? Because we have got latent gifts, latent potential sitting within us. How do you unleash and release that? So I teach people those, broadly speaking, those 5 things. And there are tools and very pragmatic techniques that I teach people under each of those.
So do you use journaling to help them be more aware of those things that are causing that energy to dip or, just changes?
Yes. I mean, journaling is one way to do it. I teach people how to, just simple things like setting an energetic alarm clock, taking your mobile phone, got an alarm clock, setting it 2-3 times a day. When it goes off, really sitting, taking a minute out of your day and just sitting and saying, how am I feeling? Just a simple question, or is my energy heavy or light? Simple questions that can really get you to tune in. The other thing that I teach people is a really interesting way to understand what's happening inside you at an energetic level is to watch your language, to watch the words that you use.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a real clue. I mean, are you someone that says, I'm an idiot a lot? And what is that saying about your energetic state and what's happening beneath the surface? I was somebody who caught myself. I constantly used to say, I'm exhausted. I always tell the story, but I remember one morning waking up, going to the toilet, and I heard myself say out loud, I've had 8 hours of great sleep. I'm exhausted. And I kind of stopped in my track, and I was like, I wasn't stopping my track because I was talking to myself. I always do that. And I was stopping in my tracks because I was like, I've just had 8 hours of sleep and I've just heard myself saying I'm exhausted. What's this about? And then I watched myself over that day and the days that ensued. I said it all the time. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted. They're exhausting. And I realized when I sat with that I was actually
manifesting it. Oh, gosh.
Well, I was manifesting it. But I was in burnout. What is this telling me about my internal state? The demands of the situation exceeded my capacity to deal with them. I felt exhausted just thinking about what was ahead of me for the day. And so that was a really nifty way of getting insight into my underlying state. And I teach people.
If we could just stay right there, though, I think it's really important for people to hear this. So you realized that what you were doing was overwhelming and causing this. How many times do people not admit that because they think they failed? They don't want to let people know that they're in a situation that isn't working for them.
Yes.
But it's expected of them to be able to handle this, but they just can't, but they don't tell anyone.
Yes. And part of coaching, I mean, one of the most basic benefits of working with a coach is it's a sounding board. At the very least, you've got a safe space to express because we don't talk about our vulnerability. I'm big into the topic of vulnerability, and we don't talk about it, but even before not talking about it, most of us don't even recognize it. We ride over those moments of, shoot, I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm not handling it. We actually just keep marching forward. And so it's the recognizing of the moment and just sitting with it, going into it rather than riding over it, that makes the difference here. And it takes courage, but that's what's needed. That's what doing the work is all about.
And what I find too is women, they just feel like, well, I'm gonna push it down. I'm gonna just trudge on, and really it doesn't help. It goes back to that self-care, actually.
I think there are cultural stereotypes, there are gender expectations, there are stereotypes when it comes to kind of ageism, like my mother's generation never spoke about what was They never
Oh,
really
yes.
vented, whereas I grew up venting and talking about my emotions. So we internalize these stereotypes, which is what you're saying. And we internalize the expectations around what it means to cope, to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think that is definitely something huge playing out in the background. And, the more we swallow our feelings, the more we
Yeah.
swallow what's really happening, the less confident we actually feel, because one of the essential things about being confident is being authentic,
Yeah.
and to say, like, this is who I am, this is how I'm feeling, and the ability to express that is cathartic in and of itself.
Right. So we just have time for one more question. I don't have time for my rapid fire ones, but we'll get this last question in. Some challenges that are common. So common challenges people are facing to deal with major life transitions. We saw this in the last 3 years. It's constant onslaught of change and transition and
Yes.
transformation.
Yes.
And sometimes we have to pivot, we have to change, but people fear change. So talk about some of those challenges and how energy mastery can help you really address those challenges successfully.
Well, firstly, I think people resist change if it doesn't benefit them. But I actually think we embrace change if it does benefit us. So that's kind of the one misconception that I love to talk about. But I think the biggest challenge, I mean, there's so many challenges when it comes to transformation, but getting off the starting blocks is the one that I think is the first one, and it's a very challenging one. I read a quote a couple of weeks ago, had a major impact on me. It said something like, if you've got the courage to start, you have the courage to succeed.
Yeah.
So people, that getting off the starting blocks is difficult because, we fear the unknown, uncharted territory.
Yeah.
But the corollary is also true because, it's stepping out of the comfort zone, and that requires effort. That can feel uncomfortable, unfamiliar. I think the other thing is habitual patterns, and your attachment to your identity is a big one. So we stay in, like I stayed in, unhappy in the corporate environment because I was attached to the identity of being a corporate leader. It had meaning to me, gave me meaning. And I had a strong need to stay consistent with that, not disrupt that. So that's another big thing. Self-doubt is another one.
Right.
And then also those external pressures that you spoke about a moment ago, outside influences, societal expectations, peer pressure, family expectations. These can create barriers. So that's the biggest thing. And I think all of those examples that I've given you, underlying them is fear, right? And so from an energetic perspective, we can't change when we're feeling resistant, when we're feeling fearful. Okay, it was Carl Jung who said we can't change anything until we accept it. So what I do from an energy mastery perspective when it comes to getting people off the starting blocks is I help them release those fears and get into the right energetic state where they can own it, where they can actually step into the unknown, where they can release energy blocks that are related to doubts, fear of failure. And so that to me is how I work at an energetic level to get people off the starting blocks and into a space of being open and receptive to change.
And I think that's important because really that having that positive mindset is rather than saying, well, this is bad, but I don't know what the next thing is going to be, and it could be worse. So I should just stay where it's bad. As opposed to having the mindset to saying, this is bad, anything's got to be better than this.
Exactly. Well, that's right. I mean, I saw such a great, it's on my mobile phone. I took a copy of it. The most beautiful quotation. I just want to quickly read. It was actually a photo of a caterpillar speaking to a butterfly, saying, "You've changed." And the butterfly says, "We are supposed to." And
Yes.
we really are. So
Yeah.
it's not comfortable moving out of your cocoon and becoming a butterfly, but when you actually get to the other side,
Yeah.
it is well worth it, So we've all got to
Absolutely.
lean into that transformation, and we are hardwired for it.
Yeah.
If we don't transform, we're going against nature.
That's right. Babies never stay babies all their lives.
Correct, Vicky.
Awesome. Well, it's time now for me to share my slide that has contact information. If
Yeah.
you all have enjoyed hearing what Gabrielle has talked about and are really wanting to connect with her, ask her more questions, you can do so right now by getting a screenshot. Or if you're just listening, you should have been taking notes all along. I tell you this every time. Go grab quickly a paper and pencil so you can get this information down. If you're not able to, though, it will be on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. Please subscribe, as well as the findyourleadershipconfidence.com. All right, so website is generativegrowth.com.au. That's generativegrowth.com.au. On Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, just search for Gabrielle Pimstone's name. So that's GabriellePimstone, Gabrielle Pimstone. I'm going to turn it over now to Gabrielle to talk to you about really what you can find on that website and to learn more about her 28 days to healing energy immersions. So Gabrielle, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Vicki. On the website, you find out what I do, but not just that, it's how I work that I think is the important thing.
Okay.
And there's a whole page dedicated to how I work, my style. There are also multiple ways to get in touch with me. But there is a very special offer and a very special product that I'm, it's currently my flagship offering, which is 28 Days to Healing. It's a group process, small group process, 28 days, 4 1-hour Zoom calls, and lots of tools and work in between. But what I found is it's based on the principle of immersion. In my own life, when I've really leaned into a process, sat with it for 3 to 4 weeks, I let it go. And that's what this is based on. And what I do in that is I give you tools, but I also do a lot of heavy lifting for you. You get a couple of energy healings from me to release your deepest blocks, but you also get energy activations to activate your deepest potential that's lying dormant. So it's fun. Working in a group setting it's not just fun, but it also holds you to account because there are other people in the group. And you get me, 24/7 in your pocket for 4 weeks. So that's the process. And welcome. Come and set up some time to talk if you want to know more about it. Absolutely obligation free. There are ways to get hold of me on our website.
All right. So thank you so much for sharing all of your great information and your insights. And it's been just a pleasure having our conversation today.
Oh, Vicki, it's been such a pleasure for me. And thank you so much for hosting this platform. Really, it's such a wonderful gift to the world. So thank you.
That's the reason I do this is to connect people with people like you to get answers to questions that they didn't even know they had, but so desperately do need. So as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.